Paul has a real interesting situation with Phoenix. I didn't know they had a 4-year, $120 million deal. He is a real eater on that salary cap now. And I'm watching this game early on yesterday, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a slow start. And I'll watch both Game 7. By the way, Jason, this is a team player that I am. When you ordered me via text, watch both Game 7s, I felt like that kid who had great plans over Christmas vacation to do nothing. And you said, you're reading War and Peace, and I'm going to turn in a book report start of the new year. So I said, okay, I'm going to watch both games. It's very evident that Chris Paul is what he is. But early on, first half, Luka Doncic dominated the game. That's the feeling that I got over yesterday, is that even more than Giannis, whose offensive game has improved, but it's still very, very raw, Luka Doncic, to me, just stood out as right now, if I had to start a franchise, it'd be that big fella who'd be my number one pick.
And a little earlier, I had a rather unpleasant exchange with Justin Wells. He had sent me a bunch of very angry texts, and he had basically said, I/we. So he meant I and Tucker. And I was like, wow, I've never had any, skirmish with Tucker. Why would Tucker be in on this? Why would Tucker allow this? So literally after I put out that tweet, Tucker called me and he's like, Dinesh, I want to assure you, I had nothing to do with those tweets. Things got a little out of hand. I'm really, he said, I regret that. And he goes, I have mended fences with Tucker. I have no problem with Tucker. We both emphasize we're on the same side. We're fighting for the same cause. And so I'm all good with Tucker right now. And that tweet to that degree is obsolete. It's been fixed. Now, the broader point, though, is true. To this date, the movie's been out 2 weeks. There's not a single person at Fox, to my knowledge. Now, I kind of slipped through, and I was on Fox Business on Larry Kudlow's show. But I think that was literally a case where I kind of, without anybody noticing.
Some of these cliches, I sometimes hate cliches, but most of them are actually true. One of the most famous cliches being, an armed society is a polite society. So when we take it back to Buffalo, a lot of black folks in Buffalo, when we say, well, why would that guy pick that place? He told you, I'm going to go shoot the place that has a bunch of black people, and none of those black people have the means to defend themselves because the laws don't allow them to be law-abiding citizens. And because most people, listen, man, it's maybe 1,000 guys in Chicago doing it wrong. The average hardworking American in Chicago is damn near being hamstringed by the state and by that criminal because they can't lawfully have the firearm the same way to protect themselves, but yet and still, we still think, or we listen to some politicians that would say, we need more of those rules.
I don't think we've ever had a conversation where you didn't mention your mom. Me and you didn't talk about your mom and the things that she instilled in you as a kid. And that's where I think I have to take the good. I have to look, when I look at character, I have to look at the good Jason and the bad Jason. The good Jason is all your mother's doing. She molded that guy to a great person. But then there's the bad Jason, I call him Jason the bad Jason. You would go to Vegas for 2 days, fly out there on Friday, I'm gonna be back on Sunday. A week later, you'd still be in Vegas.
And so I'm gonna tell you what you're talking about. That is my mother and grandmother is one side of me. And then my father's the other side of me. My father's a very good person, but my father was love women, love gambling. So does my mother.
Right, that's why I said the good with the bad.
So, yeah, but they did raise me with some good values, so I appreciate it.
But you can love yourself and still be fat. You can still.
But you would recognize that as a problem, and that's a big delineation here. Because God would tell you, you shouldn't be fat, that your body's a temple where the Holy Spirit resides. Take care of it. That's what the Bible says about it. So if you are not taking care of it, there's a problem. If you were doing what Jason's just talking about, you would recognize that's a problem. I love that I'm a child of God. That's clearly an issue, not something he approves of, and I need to fix that.
Right, but I physically, I hate working out. I got a 24-hour gym membership I've had for 30 years. Been in the gym 2 times.
Let me tell you what the most important lift is. You can work out, a great workout, without ever going to the gym. Because there's the most important lift in all of exercise is the forklift. Literally, it's the forklift. This lift right here will determine everything. If there's no weight on the fork, trust me, or there's very little weight on the fork.
I think you're wrong when you say all.
All women don't put makeup on.
No.
Again.
My wife does not wear a lot of makeup. She's
There you go, a lot. But she wears makeup, Troy.
Occasionally.
Does she wear a wig?
She's never wore a wig.
A weave?
No, she's never had a wig.
She ain't never. Stop it, Troy. She ain't never put no fake hair in her hair.
No.
Shamika, do you believe that? And I know Troy's wife, but go ahead.
You know I wouldn't come in here and say that if it was true.
Well, he says she doesn't wear a lot of makeup. So he's not saying that she never wears makeup. And I would say that when she does wear makeup, it is to look a certain way. It is to enhance, even if it's to enhance her natural beauty. I think I have pretty eyes. I put on eyeliner to enhance the natural beauty of my eyes.
All you're doing is just rolling his son right in and just rolling down the same track.
So it's the media. So the media is the one that's tweeting out all the racist stuff about him taking this white girl to the prom.
I'm saying you guys are fueling it. You're fueling it.
We're fueling
it by how you treat LeBron.
Here's Troy, though. Let me respectfully disagree again. Here's the problem. They put up the tweet. I didn't know about the tweet until it became a story. And there's not a single journalist out there that was really responding, saying, wait a minute, why are you with the Becky Beckington? And has your father gotten to page 3 of the Malcolm X autobiography? That was not happening. I would even argue that most of the perception of LeBron from the media is actually positive because much of his goodwill has been amplified. That's actually been covered.
Betsy, what is the biggest challenge facing our education system? What should we be focused on most?
Well, the biggest challenge is that the system continues to be a one-size-fits-all system for kids that are all very different and that have different needs for learning. Education is the least disrupted industry in our country. And some people bristle at the notion that education is an industry, but you look at all the infrastructure around education, and it is an industry that has more components and pieces than many other industries do. And when you look at that and the fact that what education is charged with doing, preparing the future generations to become effective and contributing adults in our society, we should be really gathering around this notion that as an industry, it has to change, and it has to change to be focused on what the needs are of individual children, not on what the system or adults think it needs.
Kirk Herbstreit's starting to crush it. Now he's got a deal with Amazon, which is NFL, but ESPN has brought him along to be at, upper tier of broadcasters. I'll take it further. Josh Pate said sitting behind a desk. I'll say he's sitting on the College Game Day desk. I mean, I feel like that's the fit. The show has gotten a little bit stale. They're trying to compete with the new Fox show. Lee Corso's getting up there in age. You wonder how many years he's got left in him. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this is Nick Saban's last year and the following year, he's on the College Game Day set with the fellas there talking about college football. And the salary probably is one of those ones because he would reset the market similar to the way Tony Romo reset the market for the NFL broadcasting, scale. So when you say those numbers, I'm a little bit taken aback, but everyone was floored when Tony Romo all of a sudden signed a deal for $180 million. I think Nick Saban, being the coach that he is and the stature that he is, could basically go to ESPN and say, this is my number, and ESPN would write the check.
I've never stood directly next to Nick Saban, but he's too short for me to give him a huge high it factor. I think women love him, but that's because he wins. And he does command a room, but that's because he wins. He is a magnetic recruiter, but that's because he wins and he gets guys in the NFL. So I give him a 20 in it factor. I see you went perfect here.
I went perfect score. I'm glad you mentioned the stature, though. So the first time I ever got to go cover an Alabama game, I was in their post-game presser, and I remember everyone's talking. I mean, you've been in there a million times. Everyone's talking, and door opens, he walks in the room. And I'd never seen a group of grown men just sit up at attention when a guy who's 5'5" or 5'6" walks in the room before, and that's stuck with me, and I've been around him a lot. We've been able to interview him a few times. There's no one else in college athletics. There are few people in pro sports who command the room when they walk in.